How's it, guys? We are bundu bashing through the African wilderness here on our way to a wild camping spot that I found a couple of weeks ago on drone footage. There's some serious business trying to get there, but we're doing a wild camp with a Unigear tent. I'm considering the tent as a bug out shelter option. Stick around and I'll tell you all of the things I like about the tent, what I dislike, as well as go through some of the general technical details and the jargon that you usually see when you are shopping for a tent. I'm Clarice, welcome to the Live Ready channel. So we've made it to our campsite and we need to clear a bit of space around here first before we can set up a tent, and there's a stream probably about 10 meters that way, but no path to it, so that's also going to need a bit of clearing, and then we'll set up the tent. This tent was sent to me by Unigear. This is a paid promotion, but you can be sure that I'm going to give you the full truth about what I like and dislike about this tent. The real proof is in the pudding. By tomorrow morning we'll definitely know whether we like this tent or not. The reason I like dome tents or any sort of enclosed shelter as a bug out shelter option is that you can keep all of the creepy crawlies, including the snakes, out of your shelter, and anything that you want to keep inside separate from whatever is outside, like your food or your animals, or perhaps you've got kids who are traveling with you, you can keep inside the tent safely. So let's get this set up. We've made a nice bed at the back here and we should have a really nice fire going soon as well. So setup is quite simple. It comes in a really nice duffel bag that you basically just fold open, unclip, and out comes your tent. Some tent stakes, basic tent poles, tent and a fly sheet. Okay, and it's just enclosed in a strap. Occasionally Unigear runs some really awesome discounts, so do check the description of this video. I'm going to add a couple of links there for you. I've bought a really awesome tarp from them before as well, so you might really score. There are 2 long poles and 2 short poles. It's really easy to see which is which. One thing I really don't like about this tent is that they've used this sort of holy mesh for you to connect the tent poles to the actual sleeve. It keeps on getting stuck in the little holes, and it would have been much better if they just used some of this fabric over here, because then the pole slides through much faster. It just makes it easier and quicker to set up the tent. Once you've got the basic dome structure up, there are just 2 cross struts that you add to the structure that you're going to connect the basic tent structure to. Now Unigear claims that these cross struts add an extra 140% of head and shoulder room to the inside of your tent, and that's really great because you're not sitting in there with the side of the tent against your head and your shoulder the whole time. You've actually got room to put on a jacket, move around, and it also changes the structure of the door. So instead of having a door at an angle or at a slant where you have to do this awkward duck and shuffle to get in, you've now got a door that's at a 90-degree angle that makes it really easy for you to enter and exit the tent. It's also got doors on both sides. They've really used a lot of mesh on the body of the tent. So if you are camping in an environment where you really are not concerned about rain or getting wet, then you can completely omit the fly sheet, just set the tent body up, and then you've got this really great panoramic view from the inside of the tent. So let's get to the elephant in the room here. When Unigear said they were going to send me this tent, I did a bit of research about it, and I thought, sure, I really love the colors of the tent itself. This rusty brown with like beigey color and the gray fits into the environment nicely. It blends in. I don't stand out. And then we get to the bright yellow fly sheet. I think they call it citrus yellow. If you want to be found in the wilderness, this is the way to do it, is to have a super bright yellow or a bright colored fly or a jacket. So if you're trying to get the attention of a rescue party, this would be great. But for anybody who wants to go stealth camping, who doesn't want to be found, maybe you're avoiding the poachers in the bush, or you simply just want a bit of privacy from all the other people, then having something bright colored is not really going to help you all that much. Having said that, if you are stealth camping, your biggest asset in remaining concealed is actually not your tent or your shelter. So you can have the best camouflage shelter on the market. If you set it up too close to a trail or too close to other people's activity, you are going to be found because of the noise that you make, because of the smell of your fire or the smell of your food. So your best asset in remaining concealed is actually your ability to choose a campsite where you can remain concealed, like this. But having said that, Unigear actually makes a really brilliant green tarp. So they do make fabrics in beautiful green. Why they didn't make an option for green, because this tent comes in yellow, red and bright blue, I definitely think it would be their best seller. Even brown or grey would be really great. To ensure that the cross struts don't pierce the fly, they've got these reinforced areas. It's sort of like a little triangle, and then a little clip or a little hook that just goes over the cross strut on either side to make sure that it's securely connected to the tent, and also that it doesn't shift around and your tent doesn't get damaged. The setup is pretty much the same as any dome tent, and it's got this nice clip that clips into the tent body itself. So your tent and your fly are then 100% connected. You can tension it, and once you've done that, you can stake it out using the loops here. What I really like about this clip system that some of the dome tents have is that it basically attaches your entire tent to itself, so it's a structure in itself, and then you can pick it up and carry it off if you've decided you want to set your tent up in a different space. The tent poles are made of 8.5mm 7001 aluminium, which is basically a really durable and tough aluminium, but it's also lightweight. Tent pegs are hexagonal aluminium tent pegs. They're coated in a beautiful red color so that you can spot them easily and you don't have to go around searching for your missing tent stakes. The hexagonal design of the tent stake is going to improve ground compression and prevent rotation in the ground. The back vestibule is a plow point, and they've added this like really nice velcro on so that you can stick the tent flap down so that if there is rain, it's not going to get in here. And they've added a little toggle for you here to tie it there, so that if you are experiencing wind from the back end, you can actually shelter yourself from the wind in this way. Or if you're in a really nice environment such as this and you're not concerned about any wind, you can go ahead and open this up even further. And once again, a nice toggle. Okay. So you can set it up using 2 trekking poles or even just 2 sticks. We've just used some guy lines to keep the poles up and to tension the little roof here. As far as the doors go, they have also made it in the natural arc of movement of your arm. So it's really easy to get the door open. These are small things that make you realize that these people have really put some thought into the design behind this tent. And it's really nice and roomy inside. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of what kind of tent fabrics they've used and what kind of waterproofing system they've used to keep you dry in this tent, let me talk a bit about the dimensions of the tent as well as the weight. So first of all, Unigear kind of positions this as a lightweight hiking tent. I wouldn't quite call it ultralight, but we're nearly there. So my camping hammock, to give an idea, weighs 2.4 kgs. This tent I weighed with everything included and it came to 3 kgs. Unigear says 3.2 kgs, so I'm not sure if I'm missing something or if my scale is broken. Now, when we start looking at trail weight, usually that would be the fly sheet and the tent and poles that basically keep the structure. As far as dimensions go, I measured the interior of the tent and I got to 2.18 in length, 1.38 in width, and about 1.18 in height. That's quite a bit of room. This little patio here also adds a whole 1.5 by 1.2 meter covered space. The entire tent is made of polyester. For waterproofing, they've used a DWR, durable water repellent system. So usually in tents we would see a polyurethane inside and a silicone outer layer, or only a silicone outer layer, and that's the waterproofing that they use to make sure that the tent sheds water nicely. In this case, the DWR is basically a coating that goes around every individual fiber. The advantage of that is that it's lighter weight, so it's easier to pack it for a trail. If you're hiking with this tent, you do have to reapply the DWR treatment every now and then. It's not difficult to do. But having said that, also a polyurethane coating can sometimes peel as well after multiple uses or after crunching the fabric a lot. Now, I've been in this tent in some really bad weather, and I can honestly say to you there are no leaks. Like, I haven't been able to find a leak. Even in Cape Town sideways rain for 2 hours. Let's call it light to moderate rain. At one point it was actually bucketing down, but I had no issues with water getting into the tent. It's seam sealed on the inside, the floor is seam sealed on the inside. So you've got 3,000 millimeters hydrostatic head pressure for the floor, and you've got 1,500 for the fly. That's basically just the way they test the fabric to see how water repellent or how water resistant the fabric is. So it's basically a column of water that's used to determine the hydrostatic head pressure. The tent body is once again 1,500 DWR. So once again we see that durable water repellence treatment that they've used on the body of the tent. This tent does have 2 air vents at the top that you just pop open and Velcro open in place, and then the amount of mesh that they've used is also going to help with condensation management. This currently retails for about $120. I believe it was on special recently for $90, so that's really affordable and it's great value for money. Right, so enough technical talk, it's time for a swim. It's really hot out here, and when we get back we're going to get a campfire going and we're going to do some cooking. On our way to our campsite we crossed a river, or rather a stream, and it makes this brilliant pool in the forest where you can have a little swim. There's some scary stuff down there, but it's also nice to just have a dip. It's really hot here. I've got my little ultralight towel, and we're taking a waterproof bag that we're going to use to just collect some water to keep at camp, because to walk through the forest all the time to go and get water from the stream is actually quite far, so later on we'll probably hack open a little path. But for now we're just going to enjoy the forest and this natural swimming pool. Welcome back to our campsite. I'm going to show you around how we've set things up quickly. We've managed to get a really nice fire going. Over here Sean set up his hammock. We've got an enormous wood pile over there, unruly but really enormous. And then over here we have got a waterproof bag that is currently doubling as a water bag. So this is the official water source. Then we do have a little path going down the forest here that we have managed to actually hack away with a panga so that we can access the water more easily, and we have built a ladder to get down to the stream. So we've just seen the sunset and you can see these beautiful mountains behind me. There's really such a stunning view out here. So yeah, with our bush camp build complete, we can now make dinner, and then it's just chilling and drinking condensed milk coffee. There's our campsite. Looks pretty spectacular, hey? We've got sasatis or kebabs for dinner, lamb kebabs with a nice marinade and some garlic bread. Thank you, Father God, for this food. Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful opportunity for us to come and wild camp. Lord, please take care of us through the night, keep us safe, and please bless this food. In the name of Jesus, amen. We've managed to fit both our bags in here with us, which is a testimony to the amount of room in here. So yeah, plenty of room. Anyways, night guys, see you in the morning. So we had a lively evening in our tent. I'm going to see what all we've stashed in the vestibules. Look at that. We've put like all our cooking stuff, tripods, shoes, more shoes with crawler guards on, doggy's water and the panga. So I really think that it's nice to have a little bit of outside storage. And the wind is blowing quite hectic this morning, but even so, you can see like the hammock keeps blowing in the wind, but the tent is actually not even moving, which is quite cool. Yeah, nice morning, and we'll probably get going and make some breakfast soon. And I think I'll take a walk down to the little stream. There were some serious creepy crawlies that came out last night. So it's always when it gets dark that all the bugs come out. But I was really grateful to be in a tent rather than to be sleeping in a tarp with all of those bugs coming out. Here's our ladder. It is quite dense jungle. where we are staying, there's the path that Sean made for us to the water. This was all thick bush, like this thick. Like you could see absolutely nothing. So yeah, that's a morning walk. Now to get some breakfast going, get a fire started. Sean's not up yet, and I see this very big creepy crawly spider that was here before has gone. To quickly jump into the specs for the fabrics, the fly sheet is of 185 thread count and 68 denier. Denier is basically the weight of 9,000 meters of yarn. So that tells us that the higher the denier, the more the thread weighs, the thicker the thread is going to be, and the more robust the fabric is going to be. The lower your denier is, the less durable the fabric is. To give an idea, Xenon is a polyester fabric, but Xenon has a specific denier of 20, and that makes it a much lighter fabric but not as durable. As the denier goes up, the thread count comes down, and vice versa. So it's quite robust, but they have made it into a taffeta weave. So they've used the taffeta weave because it makes the fabric really smooth. And when I had it set up in the rain, I really could see the water was like running off of it, more so than I've found with any of our other dome tents. Our other dome tents tend to have the water trickling down. This just runs down. So I really can attest to the fact that the taffeta weave makes a difference to the ability that the fabric has to shed water. For the body of the tent, Unigear says this is a ripstop body, but I am not 100% convinced that this is ripstop fabric. To me, it also looks like it might have just been a taffeta weave, and then same denier and thread count. For the floor of the tent, they've used a higher denier, so the denier then goes up to 150 denier, and once again we see the denier go up, the thread count comes down to 135 T. In this case of the floor, they've used an Oxford weave. So an Oxford weave is basically a basket weave. It makes the fabric more robust. It tends to make the fabric or the item a little bit heavier. So for example, in most hiking bags, you will see an Oxford weave. It's that really rough kind of fabric. And I can tell the difference between that and the fly. The taffeta really shows, it's really smooth. Whereas the ground or the floor of this tent does really have a more robust look to it. There are some sharp pokey objects under here. It's probably from my forest bed, but none of it has actually managed to penetrate the tent, which in the middle of the night I thought, I wonder if I'm going to wake up to see quite a bit of damage to the bottom of the tent. But no, not at all. I was a little bit concerned about the fact that the fly is 1,500 millimeters hydrostatic head pressure. So 1,500 millimeters mercury is basically the lowest rating that in my opinion would qualify a tent for a waterproof tent. So to me that said not very waterproof, but I stand corrected. I think it's perfectly fine for 2 to 3 season camping depending on where you live. And the durable water repellent also, because it coats every fiber, it prevents the fabric from absorbing water and becoming heavy and sagging. That's also the advantage of polyester over nylon. Polyester tends to absorb less water, it doesn't stretch as much as nylon does, and it doesn't sound like a drum in the wind. A couple of things that we made really good use of was the 4 attachments along, well there's actually 5 attachments, there's one in the middle as well along the ceiling that you can hang torches from. I've put one of the guy lines, because the tent comes with 4 reflective guy lines, up along the 4 corner attachments in the ceiling. So that I could hang, at one point I had my costume in here, and at one point I'd hung a towel in here, and I'd put a shirt up at some point. So there's lots of storage space, and the 3 pockets also help. There's one like common one and then 2 on the sides, which really helps you to like organize your gear and find the stuff that you look for in a hurry really easily. The yellow has grown on me, I must admit. I don't think I would pick red or blue. We sometimes take the cat camping with us. She actually is starting to enjoy camping, but I do need to be able to close her up if I'm busy cooking, or if she needs to sleep. She sleeps like 16 hours a day. So for me to have an enclosed space where I can leave her where she feels safe, and where the dog feels safe, because the dog does not do hammock camping, it's really a plus having a shelter set up on the ground that I can close up and leave all my gear stashed in. A couple things I disliked. not so fond of the bright colors. Really would like to see them bring this tent out in a neutral color, either green, brown or gray, or something that just blends into the environment even more. The zippers in this tent are SBS zips. They are not the YKK zips that I like to see on a tent. YKK is just basically a really durable zip. So we like to see that there are YKK zips because we know that the longevity of the zippers is improved because of the quality of the YKK zips. SBS is basically just a competitor of YKK. A couple of things that I really liked about this tent is the amount of exterior space that you've got that is covered when you put the awning up. So if it is raining and you need to cook something on a little gas stove or something like that, you can do that. There's also enough room in here for, as you can see, 2 people, a dog and their bags. And I found myself this morning sitting right up against the door on this side and brushing my hair, and I thought to myself, well, if this is what extra headroom is like, I wouldn't have been able to do that or change or put anything on like a jacket or change into PJs or something like that as easily and as comfortably if it wasn't for the extra headroom that the tension ridge creates in this tent. So it is a really nice feature of it. So we had a lot of wind during the night. Suddenly during the night, like a huge wind came up, and it made an enormous amount of noise in the trees, but not a single part of this tent moved. The hammock was flapping up and down, the trees were going, but the tent was completely secure and there was no flapping, which is really nice because if you are in windy conditions, you don't want the tent to drum around you because it really makes for a terrible night's sleep. 2 other things that I really like about this tent is the compression sack that it comes in. It's really easy to get everything inside, and because it's got the drawstring as well as the compression straps, which are basically like webbing straps with buckles, you can actually fold it up and compress it quite small. So it folds up to 20 by 48 centimeters, which I can easily carry on the outside of my bag. Another thing that I really like is the 2 doors. If you have only 1 door in a tent, then you kind of block off everything that's behind the tent. Whereas if you can open the door on the other side, or even just a window on the other side, at least you feel like you're immersed in the environment and you haven't closed off a section of the area that you're in. It's really nice to also wake up and be able to look out of both sides of the windows. Go check it out. I'm going to drop a link for this tent in the description to this video, so if you want to go and do a bit more research, or if you feel like acquiring one for your bug out bag, then definitely go and look up that link. It is a really well priced tent and it is super durable as well, so I am completely happy to say that it is worthwhile buying this tent. At one point when I was setting it up on the top of the mountain, like a serious gust came up and it kind of ripped the tent over the top of the hill. There was me running after, and I just switched the camera off. So if I hadn't, then you would have had a good laugh watching me run over the mountain chasing the tent. But I was running after this tent thinking to myself, there's like some seriously rough rocks in the area and like the wind is just pulling it through all of these boulders. And I thought this tent is going to come out with a couple of like serious gashes and holes, but not a single one. So there is the merit in having a higher denier in the fabric, but a more durable tent, even though it does weigh a bit more. You definitely are going to see this tent lasting longer than you will see a tent with a lower denier, like a xenon type fabric would not have made it over those boulders. So all in all, we've had a really nice wild camp. Thanks for hanging out at camp with us. Remember to like and subscribe and drop a comment below. Until the next time, live ready.